excellent question, and we've started having calls already from folks to find out whether they're included or not. It includes, as I said, over 300,000 properties, but it is in the flat areas of the city. It does not include the hillsides or the coastal. But as part of this ordinance, there is also a provision that we begin working immediately on the hillside areas, and staff is already starting work on those areas. So we expect to be going out and doing the same type of public outreach, going to communities and working with the hillside communities so that they can get the benefits of a mansionization ordinance as well.
Very good. Thanks for clearing that up. Principal City Planner Betsy Wiseman, thanks for joining us on Council Week in Review.
Thank you.
Again, the mansionization measure was approved with a unanimous vote of 12 ayes. The residential hotel ordinance was also approved unanimously with 13 ayes. On Wednesday, May 7th, the Council considered items 35 and 36. 35 addressed repeated incidents of noise complaints about roosters. Item 36 was a motion restricting the ownership of roosters. Admitting this might not be a problem for everyone, District 15 Councilmember Janice Hahn says there have been many complaints about roosters and explains what research has revealed.
Okay, colleagues, we're going to take item 35 and 36 together. 35 is how to deal with noise complaints from roosters, and 36 is limiting roosters to one per home, grandfathering in those who might already have more than one rooster right now. This might not be a problem for everyone, but it has come to my attention because many of my constituents, particularly in Harbor Gateway and Watts, have complained about roosters. I certainly never intended to interfere with the rights of people who use chickens and roosters to feed their families. People are entitled to a certain amount of their judgment in their own homes, which is why we as a city have ordinances and processes to deal with sometimes the noise that come from barking dogs or other animals. But in researching the problem further, my staff found that another problem associated with the number of homes that we have complaints against is that they have more than one rooster, and they also are involved in cockfighting, which we know has ties into the gangs in Los Angeles.
Supervising attorney for the City Attorney's Animal Protection Unit, Bob Ferber, talks about blood sport and what his task force has come up against while out in the field.
As you know, the city and the City Attorney's Office and LAPD and Animal Services are targeting blood sports. For many of you may not be as familiar with cockfighting as dog fighting, but it is as bloody, as brutal, if not more, than dog fighting. The origin of this ordinance, especially I'm focusing on 36, years ago when we didn't even have the task force yet, I was going out with LAPD and we were surveying locations around the city where roosters were being raised. And it dawned on me one day, we watched went to 7 different property locations, and the numbers of roosters ranged from 300 to over 1,000 roosters on a 2 to 3 acre properties that were no larger than 2 to 3 acres, and not a single chicken anywhere. There is only one purpose for a location with 1,000 roosters in the city of Los Angeles, and it's not for the 4-H club. These are roosters that just by visiting the location, their proximity, the way they are being held, it is overwhelmingly evident that these locations are being used for cockfighting.
All right. That item is now before us. Since there are no other speakers on the queue, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Again, this item will be coming back with the actual draft ordinance.
And joining us now is District 15 Councilmember Janice Hahn. Ms. Hahn, always great to have you on Council Week in Review.
Thanks, Jack. It's good to be here.
Noisy roosters, probably some grins and giggles when this topic first came up, but for a lot of people this is really serious, isn't it?
Apparently it is. It's a very serious issue in Los Angeles. In fact, our Department of Animal Services told me that they get 50 calls a day regarding roosters. It certainly wakes people up, and apparently they crow all day long. And it's a noise issue, but it's also an issue related to cockfighting.
Good point. I want to get into that in a minute. But now, as for this ordinance, barking dogs, crowing roosters, to be handled pretty much the same way now. There's a question about animal services, of course, having the resources to take on these additional responsibilities.
Right, which is what we've asked them to do. We've asked them to tell us how they could implement this in a tough budget year. But if we can handle barking dogs, we ought to be able to handle crowing roosters. And people need to know that when they call and complain, that they get some kind of response. And hopefully we address it in the same way. You go out, you give people warnings. If it keeps going on, ultimately it could lead to the removal of the animal from the property.
Well, in fact, this ordinance doesn't limit the number of chickens allowed, only roosters. And perhaps most people know you don't need a rooster for chickens to lay eggs.
Well, I just learned that fact the other day. I did not know that. But those ladies don't need the men to lay the eggs. They only need the roosters to fertilize them. So chickens can lay eggs. So if people want to continue to have eggs for their family and their friends, they don't need a rooster for that.
Male of the species, irrelevant as always, I guess.
You said it, not me.
I had to. The ordinance limits ownership to one rooster, of course, but allows up to 3 under certain circumstances, as we understand it. What would those exceptions be?
Well, under the proposed ordinance, everyone can have 1 rooster per household, but you could apply to have up to 3 with a permit. So anybody can apply to have more than 1 rooster, up to 3, but you have to assure the city that they will not be a nuisance to your neighbors.
There's some talk of grandfathering in previous rooster owners. Does this mean somebody who already owns more than 3 roosters can keep them?
Well, what it means is if you have 3, you will be grandfathered in, but you cannot have more than 3. So even if you have more than 3 roosters right now, you can be grandfathered in only for up to 3, and after that, we're not going to allow any more roosters per one property.
You did bring up the notion of cockfighting within the city of Los Angeles. Has this really been a large and growing problem, and is there anything else being done about that issue?
It's a terrible problem. People bring, hundreds of roosters to locations where they engage in cockfighting and illegal betting. It has ties to gang violence, but really is a very inhumane problem, and it leads to all sorts of other crimes. But we do have an animal cruelty task force within the LAPD who right now go out there and investigate these problems, and this ordinance will help them do that job better. But it's a terribly a cruel kind of thing to have roosters involved in. I
happened upon a cockfight in progress on the island of Bali once, and I can tell you, I never want to see one again. It is just awful, and I can't imagine why anybody would participate in it.
It is terrible, and kids that have to witness that, and many of the kids are around there when the cockfighting is going on. Again, it's a very ugly, bloody sport. It maims the roosters, and it's really an inhumane way to treat these animals.
Some communities, in fact, have a total ban on roosters. Perhaps that would be appropriate for a metropolitan area like Los Angeles someday, do you think?
Well, I do know that other municipalities have banned roosters altogether. We're looking for something that works within Los Angeles, and we want to give responsible rooster owners an opportunity to have roosters.
During the conversation in council on Wednesday, it was said that neighbors of some rooster owners were really reluctant to file a complaint for fear of, retaliation, for example. Does this ordinance address that concern? And what would be the proper procedure for filing a complaint about a noisy rooster?
Well, that's always a problem in Los Angeles. Whatever crime people are reporting, everyone's afraid of retaliation. And again, since these roosters and the cockfighting are associated with gang members, people are even more afraid to come forward. But everything in the city of Los Angeles is able to be, every crime is able to be reported anonymously. You can call the police department, you can call 311, and you do not have to leave your name if you so choose. We want to make sure that people come forward, are protected themselves while they're able to report these crimes.
I know that some dog owners, for example, have found ways to suppress a bark in a barking dog. Have you heard of anything along these lines with roosters, for example?
I haven't. I know that there's some method that can be done to kind of impair the vocal cords of dogs. We're not suggesting that. I've never heard of that for roosters. Again, but we think limiting the number of roosters to 1 per household will certainly go a long way towards reducing the noise in and around residential neighborhoods.
Now, I'm sure most sharp-eyed viewers have already noticed that you are wearing a lapel pin, and it looks suspiciously like a rooster.
Well, you know, just to make sure people don't think I am anti-rooster, I actually think roosters are a great animal. In fact, my name Hahn in German actually translates to rooster. So my house is filled with the kind of roosters that don't make any noise. I actually collect inanimate roosters in my house.
I've known you and your family going back a very, very, very long way, and I never knew that before. Is that the reason why you collect roosters?
It is. It is. And when people ask me, I say, well, my name Hahn means rooster.
That's amazing. What a coincidence. So
Which is why I like roosters. I want to protect them, and I think this ordinance is going to be good for those roosters in Los Angeles.
And of course, you've gone from goats to alligator, now to roosters. There's almost a trend going here in the 15th District.
It does seem like that. Of all the issues I'm working on, these are the ones that seem to get the most attention. But these are all issues that really involve people in their neighborhoods.
Also this past week, back to a serious subject, there was some question about contracts with the airport, and especially the airport modernization effort. The committee you chair, Trade, Commerce, and Tourism, reviewed these contract procedures with the airport's executive director, Gina Marie Lindsay. Briefly fill us in, if you could, on the results of that review.
Well, we did. We looked at a couple contracts that were being awarded at LAX, and what everyone should know is that the modernization of LAX, our airport, is so critical. We have not modernized that airport since 1984 when we had the Olympics here, and we built the Tom Bradley International Terminal. We know that other international airports look a lot better, are more efficient, are more effective, are more inviting to the public, and LAX needs to be modernized. So these contracts that we're going to begin awarding on our way to billions of dollars in airport modernization need to be awarded in the most transparent, honest, and fair way. So we questioned a couple of the contracts that were awarded recently about the modernization. We feel like Gina Marie Lindsay, the executive director at the airport, is a great person to run that airport. She understands the need to modernize this airport. But we found a couple of areas in the contracting process that could be probably tightened up a bit, cleaned up a bit, so that as going forward, we will have the most fair, transparent, open, and honest process in which to award contracts out at this airport. So I think we might make a few changes in the process, but we certainly came away not feeling like anyone had done anything wrong at the airport.
It was suggested at one point that, in fact, Ms. Lindsay might be in for micromanaging by the City Council, and I think you don't view it that way.
Well, we don't. We believe that the good general managers should run their departments. We have a series of commissioners that sit also as oversight committees of these departments. But it is our obligation on the City Council to provide checks and balances. We are the elected body in the City of Los Angeles, and it is up to us to pay attention to what's going on in every area of the city and make sure that we are watching the public's purse and that we're watching and make sure that all things are done fair and honestly.
Well, and we hope that you will keep coming back and keep us updated on how the whole project is going. District 15 Councilmember Janice Hahn, as always, thanks for joining us on Council Week in Review.
Thanks, Jack.
Again, your Los Angeles City Council voted unanimously to request the city attorney to prepare and present an ordinance restricting ownership of roosters. And we'd like to thank again Councilmember Janice Hahn and City Planner Betsy Wiseman for taking the time to join us on this week's program. LA City View is the government access cable channel for the City of Los Angeles, featuring live coverage of City Council meetings and programming about City Department services and events. And you can watch City Council meetings live or view past meetings by going to the city's website at lacity.org and follow the instructions for video on demand. Also, we invite you to address the Los Angeles City Council on any item on the council agenda, as well as during public comment. You may come downtown to City Hall or go to the Van Nuys City Hall and participate via video teleconferencing. Remember, you can watch all Los Angeles City Council meetings live in their entirety on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays beginning at 10 a.m. On Sundays, you can watch the replay of all the week's meetings, also beginning at 10 a.m. Council Week in Review can be seen Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. and on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. Well, that concludes our program for the week ending May 9th, 2008. On behalf of Martine Martinez and everyone here at Channel 35, I'm Jack Popejoy. Thank you for watching, and please join us for the next Council Week in Review.
For route and schedule information, call the LADOT Transit Store. From any area code, dial 808-2273 or visit our website at www.ladottransit.com. I'm Nate Holden, and I will see you soon on Dash.
Hey, buddy! You with the stupid hat. Come here. Closer. No parking! Do you know what happens when you park illegally on these narrow hillside streets? You block the street so emergency vehicles can't pass. Each year, homes are destroyed and lives are lost because of drivers like you who park illegally. And you know what else? You can get a citation. And you can be towed.
Help us get to the emergency. The life we save just might be yours.
How'd you know?
The ball called.
Hey, look out for the pothole.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Good morning. This is a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council. Today is Tuesday, May 13th, 2008. Thank you, council members Weissar, Labange, Perry, and Zine. Would ask that council members Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Rosendahl, Smith, please make their way down to the council chamber so we can begin our council meetings this morning. Mr. Smith and Mr. Zine have just joined us. We will begin as soon as we have a quorum. Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Cardenas, Ms. Hahn, and I think Mr. Reyes will be on his way as well. Please make the way down to council chambers. Mr. Reyes. Thank you again. Welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. Today is Tuesday, May 13, 2008. The City Council meets Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 o'clock. First Friday, we meet in the San Fernando Valley. If you're unable to be with us, you can watch us on Channel 35. Also go on to the website, www.lacity.org. We encourage your participation. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present and a Madam President.
Thank you very much. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Yes, Mr. Smith. Oh, you know what? I think we do roll. Do we today do the flag salute?
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Okay, Mr. Smith, followed by, and seconded by Mr. Reyes.
And now would be time for the flag salute.
Thank you. I was jumping the gun there. Thank you. If I could ask Mr. Zine to do the Pledge of Allegiance for us today, and ask everyone to please rise.
Face the flag.
Repeat with me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, I jumped the gun. Mr. Clerk, first item.
Madam President, first item on the agenda is an item notice for public hearing, and this is the Los Feliz Business Improvement District Ordinance. There won't be 12 members, so it will carry over for second read.
Okay, we'll carry it over to the second.
But Council will need to take a vote first.
Madam Clerk, please open the roll on item 1, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Next item.
Item 2 is an item notice for public hearing, and there is a card on that matter.
Yes, we will hold item 2.
Items 3 through 9 are items for which public hearings have been held. Item 3 is a commission appointment. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
We will hold that on the desk.
And I believe there is an amendment in the works on item 5. Do you wish to hold that as well?
Item 6, they're saying, is there's amendment. Item 6. Amendment on item 6. Any other specials, colleagues? Yes. Mr. Reyes?
Mr. Council President, if we can hold item 9 on the desk and get some personnel down here, we have some questions on that one.
Item 9 will be held on the desk. Any other specials, colleagues? If not, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the remaining items. Open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Those items have been approved. Next item.
And the ordinance on item 4 will carry over for 1 week.
Thank you.
Items 10 through 23 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
18 by Mr. Labange. Any other specials, colleagues? I think we do have some cards on item 20 as well.
There's a card on 17 as well, Madam President.
Okay, card on 17. Any other specials, colleagues? The 3 items that have been called special are 17, 18, and 20. If not, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on the remaining items, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next items?
On the supplemental agenda, item 24 is the mayor's veto message. 10 votes are required to override. And there is a card on that matter.
Yes, Mr. Reyes would like to call that special.
Thank you.
Items 25 and 26 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. And there is a card on item 26.
Okay, item 26 will be called special. Colleagues, anyone wish to call item 25 special? If not, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on item 25, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Any other items?
That would conclude the items called special. Do you wish to go back to public comment?
We will go back to public comment. Our first public speaker here is Vern Gammon. Mr. Gammon.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to congratulate the city of Los Angeles for being named a third world country by the British press. And having traveled through South Central Los Angeles and see the way you keep the streets clean compared to West LA, I can certainly appreciate their attitude. That and the fact that you are the homeless capital of the United States, the gang capital of the United States, the worst schools in the United States, and on and on and on. And I'd like to thank you on behalf of my friends in Oaxaca and Zacatecas and Sinaloa and Michoacan for your continued interference in the internal politics, and of course on behalf of Felipe Calderon, who appreciates you keeping him in power. I certainly want to thank you of all my Campesino friends, who I have many of in many states in Mexico. I'd like to take this final moment to extend my congratulations to Councilman Parks, Wesson, and Perry for standing up for Jamil Shaw, who was murdered by a piece of scum who should have never been on the streets of my state. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We'll go out to the San Fernando Valley. Miriam Fogler, followed by Donna Pearman, followed by Sharon Brewer and Rick Nightingale. Ms. Fogler.
Well, I guess my folks, Beth Bear, I talked to her. She's agreeing with me on some of the stuff now. She said that's true. We don't want to make the public service into a private, because then you're going to have more corruption. Nobody will be accountable or anything. And I know why you're doing the fees and tax, because you want to get a reaction from a reporter to report something like this, so you can knock down the people here. You know, there's no incentive for somebody to work in public if you're not going to pay them a little bit more. And you have to give them enough cost of living. These people took 5 years, 6%. Yes, they sacrificed themselves 2-3 years without no pay. Did the city council do the same? Absolutely not. The city council's salaries have gone up from $110,000 to $178,000 in the last 3-4 years. So they're the ones that are the culprits. And the top exec, they want to become the executives and make much more than ever before if they privatize the city. And also the controller, and of course the city attorney is making 50% more than outside. And secondly, the Nahai and this new CAO guy making over $300,000. I think you people are not shedding the true light here. I think you're trying to go attack city workers. How about DWP, LaBonge? They're making 20% more. They're engineers and electricians. We can't even keep them over at the wastewater treatment plants. They all want to go to DWP and work for 20% more. I think there should be across the board even equal pay for equal work, but not cut their pay down 20%. I think that we should keep it at that and be on COLAs. And the city council should be not getting pay raises every single year just because sometimes I don't think they do a very good job. Prop 8 should be repealed, and R should be repealed. You're getting the city's retirement. Some people here have been working 30, 40 years to get that retirement and health benefits. You only have to work 12 years, and that's not right.
Thank you, Ms. Pearman. Donna Pearman.
First, I'd like to talk about daily news stories about city employees. They attack the middle-class employees. Our city is run on the backs of the middle class. I feel the daily news reporters are the ones that are overpaid, and they don't know how to do an honest day's work. But that's private, so I guess I can't talk about it. So about overtime, the city doesn't have enough employees, so it gives out overtime, except for the OT needed for your fee waivers. They need overtime to pay for rent, car payments, and other expenses. How about the price of gas? I want to talk about Councilman Greg Smith's comments in Daily News. First, how dare he say city employees should get the same as private sector when Rocky's office makes 50% more than private. How about you making salaries way back for the private sector? $5,000 a year. It's great he's not taking the raise and putting in general fund. The rest should follow suit. Though I heard Garcetti, I believe Janice Hahn didn't take the raise. But the part I need to bring out is dangerous precedents. Council Smith taking 6 days furloughs. Nice move. He doesn't expect city employees to follow suit. There's a big difference in Councilman Smith and other council members taking furlough and city employees taking furlough. Councilman Smith Smith taking furlough means foregoing a luxury item, changing his vacation plans, foregoing expensive home improvements. City employees taking furlough means having trouble paying property taxes, paying rent, putting food on the table. A big difference. Also with staff getting furloughs like the city employees, though they're probably paid well, still there's a big difference in Greg Smith taking his furlough. I was in the North Lodge Library, and the librarians are concerned about the furlough. The library can't survive if they go on furlough. It keeps the kids occupied in the library, computers, and not in gangs. The libraries already have problems not getting new books for a year. Personally, I feel librarians are an asset, especially in Northridge. Personally, if Councilman takes 6 days furlough, no one will probably notice, and the city will not suffer, and the city employees are asked to go on furlough. Make the CRA go on furlough. I like to see them on a permanent furlough. CRA stop stealing our money. The city wouldn't be in this mess. Anyway, you talk too much. You bore us to tears. You talk too much. It's us you don't hear. You talk too much.
Miss Sharon Brewer, followed by Rick Nightingale.
Hi, Sharon Brewer, public comment. City Council continues to give away public funds, money taken out of the general fund for special event fee waivers, July 1st, 2007 to May 9th, 2008. Total fees waived, $4,677,409 plus. 1,117 total events, 871 with amounts, 216 reimbursed, maybe, 30 no amounts, free check to the city funds. Fiscal policy regarding fee waiver policy from time to time. 1,117 events is not from time to time. Council may decide to waive fees when it can be demonstrated that a direct public benefit can be obtained. These policies are not intended to replace or supersede the revenue policy stating that sufficient user charges and fees will be pursued and levied to support full cost of operations for which fees are charged. What happened about full cost recovery for services rendered? You want to get us for the trash pickup? Most of these fee waivers benefit a specific group of people. I want to talk about Rec and Parks going and asking for $31,500 to put up a shade structure at Lake Balboa. One, with the budget problems and rangers being laid off, I find that this is an expenditure that doesn't need to happen. You are having lifeguards that are paid over $59,000, and at Lake Balboa, they sit around and they do nothing. And to go and have 3 shade structures at 2 other places for a total of $77,000 needs to be looked at. And the mayor last night went and said we needed to find a way to get money for the rangers, and I think going and cutting lifeguards at Lake Balboa and the shade structure is a way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rick Nightingale out in the San Fernando Valley. Mr. Nightingale?
Yeah, my name's Rick Nightingale. Boy, I'll tell you, the Daily News sure cut you guys up for the last couple of days. But I'd like to go back to where you turn around and when our parents grew up regarding, like, the Great Depression and so forth. And they really taught them a lesson back then. My parents, they kept the same thing. They taught us to save. The only 3 things you should really have payments on is a house, a car, and some investments. Everything else, if you don't have the money to buy it, you don't deserve it. That means you got to save for it. You got to sacrifice for it. You people turn around on the council, you're not too much younger than I am, and your parents were brought up exactly the same way. But you lost the vision of putting a couple of dollars away when the rainy day comes. Your people are just like when you won the lottery. All of a sudden, this great big windfall came, and you just spent. And everybody had their hand out. I'm an IBEW member. I was an electrician for 40 years. I know what they did with you people. I know how much money they socked into you people, and it's wrong. You shouldn't even accept a dinner from anybody. That is your job, to turn around and you don't know anybody anything. And when you turn around and you don't save for the rainy day, I am no rocket scientist, but I'll tell you, I knew this was coming a long time ago, just regarding when the shoe was going to drop, and it dropped. And you don't have anything put away for a rainy day like you're supposed to have. We shouldn't even have a problem right now, Because if you turn around and had some investments put away, you would have other money coming in to cover this rainy day. And this rainy day is going to last a lot longer than people think. And I'll bet you it's for a year or 2 years and maybe more. It happened back in the 70s, and they swore it wouldn't happen again. It happened back in the mid-90s, and there it is again. Now it happened again. And boy, it's really paying off on you. So you better watch out. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we have 3 more cards here, Mr. Alarcon wanted to have an introduction.
Yeah, we have a group of young students from New York, from Brooklyn, New York. If you could stand up, I would like to introduce from a public charter school. As I said, in Brooklyn, New York. They're out for a visit for 2 weeks in California. They're selected for their outstanding character and their achievements. These are great students who are directed by Kai Adderley, the principal and founder of this organization and trip. So we want to thank them for coming to Los Angeles and to California. Apparently, there's some rumor that Kai went to school with Commissioner Andrea Alarcon, and that's why I'm doing the introduction, folks. No other reason. But we want to thank you for coming, and I hope you have a most enjoyable visit to California. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Welcome to Los Angeles, and enjoy your trip here. Our next public speaker is Zuma Dog, followed by Arnold Sachs, and followed by Michael Carrion.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, City Council. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Mayor Antonio. If you didn't see, I had extensive time with the mayor on Friday. He's off the Hillary Clinton campaign, and it was delightful to see him here at City Hall. We talked about things such as Special Order 40, neighborhood council systems. It was a lot of time Zuma Dog with Mayor Antonio on the Zuma Cam, and some warm and fuzzy moments at ZumaTube.com. I think everybody here should check it out so they can see his position. Also, a Boyle Heights Citizens Alert. We have a very important event happening. It's a neighborhood council election for president, and Zuma Dog is here to urge the community to vote for Jose Aguilar, who's running for Boyle Heights. It's Jose Huizar's Decato, and I know that Jose Huizar knows Jose Aguilar and knows what a community leader he is. He knows how much Jose Aguilar has mentored me over the years in City Hall, and my strongest urging not only to vote for Jose Aguilar for Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council.
This isn't the place for campaigning, sir.
Okay. Well, then let's talk about the talk show hosts. I'd like to remind City Council here that there is a motion for a Jamil's Law type of Special Order 40 revision, and the talk show hosts, they seem to want to ignore that fact. They might be agendized. I'd like to know if any of you can call the talk show hosts and let them know that there is a City Council motion regarding Special Order 40 revision. They just want to ignore that. I was on the radio today, and the talk show host said, why doesn't City Council get behind this motion? Well, they have a motion, and people that say that the Zine-Smith motion doesn't go far enough, it's a motion. It opens it up for debate. If you want things added to it, that's the time to hammer it out. Don't ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. You should be calling Jack Weiss. You should be calling 311 and saying, I want to talk to Jack Weiss. Leave a voicemail and tell him that you want the council motion waved to the floor. And the thing is to accomplish the goal, not through agendas, not through who comes up with it. If something works, do it. ZumaTimes.com.
Mr. Sachs, followed by Michael Carrion.
Good morning, council members. Arnold Sachs. Thank you very much. I want to congratulate you on your spectacular spectacle on Friday. Your interrogation of the LAWA staff was off the board. Unfortunately, the same questions still remain. Everybody was talking about this new information from the second meeting, but what new information could possibly have been presented to change 4 votes? The original vote was 4-1 in favor of Company A. Second meeting, the vote went 5-0 Company B. That means there was a 4-vote swing. Either that was the lousiest second presentation or somebody did something. But I'd also like to know that in spite of what was said by some of the council members, there is no funding for any transit projects with the $8 billion that LAWA is committing for construction. No funding for the Green Line, no funding for the People Mover. So you're looking at an extra $2 billion, maybe more there. And when you have these type of hearings, please do the public a favor, especially the people that are here in the city council chambers. Please provide us with some fish so we can feed you seals, because then it would be worthwhile being here. Other than that reason, just going arf, 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 arf all the time for your hearings just doesn't make it for us. Appreciate us being here. We're here to try to enlighten the public. Thank you for your time and your answers.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Michael Carrion.
Yes, my name is Michael Carrion. And I'm here to ask you guys, why are we in as big a problem as we're in? I'll tell you, because Mr. Gray, I think it was Mr. Smith who said one day, you put in a motion, when we come up here and ask questions for somebody from your council district to respond to us. That was, what, 2 years ago? It still hasn't passed. A motion when constituents come up here and ask questions on what's going on in their district for someone to respond to them, since you can't in public comment. Someone put in a motion over 2 years ago, and it still hasn't come to light. Yet when you want something to come to light, it comes to light overnight. So I guess that was just in passing. Number two, we want to know why we're having so much problems. Gas prices are at $4 a gallon. Yet 75% of the Los Angeles Police Department does not live in the city. And they drive our vehicles home. They live in Santa Clarita, the city that you guys didn't want nothing to do with. They want the building over there, but your police department lives there. The other percentage live in La Puente. 10% of LAPD live in the city of Los Angeles. Yet 80% of them are driving our vehicles out of the city at our cost. But it doesn't seem to make a difference to you. Some of these officers are making $80,000, $100,000 and driving vehicles at the taxpayer's expense up and down out of the city. One more thing. We talk about the parking meters. We keep wanting to raise them and raise them. Judge Aliso, right in back of Parker Center, I don't know whose district that is, but all of LAPD parks in the red in a tollway zone with impunity. No one here has stood up and said they cannot do that. They took an oath to uphold the law, but they're breaking it. I hope one of you stand up and put a stop to it.
Thank you, Mr. Carrion. Yes.
Attorney, is it correct that the license plates on police vehicles have the E, which stands for exempt, and that they do park behind Parker Center appropriately in a red zone when there's an emergency or some other situation due to the construction project for the Metropolitan Detention Center?
I believe that's correct, what you're saying.
Okay, so they do that. And if you want to talk about it, I'll talk to you at the road. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. Mr. Clerk, first item.
Item 3 is the appointment of Ms. Veronica Padilla to the North Valley Area Planning Commission.
Ms. Padilla. Please join us at the table. I'd like to recognize Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I stand to present to you Ms. Padilla, Veronica Padilla. And she'll be the first one to say in relationship to Alex Padilla. But I did want to ask her to share with us some of her experience as she comes forward to participate as a commissioner with the Valley Commission. Before you start, I want to acknowledge your parents who are here and your sister. Bienvenidos. They're here to support Ms. Padilla, and felicidades. Congratulations on such great support to have Ms. Padilla before us. Ms. Padilla, would you please just share with us some of your experience and what would you like to achieve as a commissioner?
Thank you. I'll go back a couple of years. As an undergrad at UCLA, I studied geography and environmental studies, and after graduation, I did GIS consulting for a couple of firms, and after being in front of the computer, I figured I wanted to go out to my community and really create a difference. So I decided to go back to grad school. I went to UCLA Urban Planning, where GIS kind of helped me get through school and consulting through various organizations, nonprofits, the Charter School Association, LAHD. I got a lot of experience there. After graduating UCLA Urban Planning, I went on to do environmental planning, and I was a project manager for EIR. After that, I was brought on to ICON, which is where I work now. ICON is a nonprofit in Pacoima, and it stands for Initiating Change in Our Neighborhoods. And I was brought on to ICON to do a transportation analysis of the Van Nuys corridor in Pacoima. I wrote a paper analyzing the needs for transportation, housing, and businesses. After a couple of months at ICON, I was made into a director of the organization, and now as director I write grants, I manage about 5 projects, and also I was given the opportunity to be on the Pacoima Neighborhood Council and was actually elected to be president of the Neighborhood Council until maybe last week when I had to step down because of the commission. I was also able to participate in the Community Benefits Agreement in Pacoima, and I was selected to be on the negotiation team for that document. So all in all, I think I have lots of experience in planning and in community. And as a commissioner, I see myself as really being that community builder and bringing great projects to a neighborhood that can really use some positive developments.
Thank you, Ms. Padilla. In terms of your role as commissioner, do you feel that the issues that are before us, the tension between housing and transportation and parking, that your background will help facilitate intelligent discourse to reach conclusions that would essentially create a balance and achieve some of the goals that you have stated for your community?
Definitely, I think not only in my educational experience, but I do live in the community and work in the community. So I think I'm very well qualified for the position. And yes.
Thank you, Ms. Padilla. I encourage and I vote, and it's good to have young talent and to have the academic background and the experience and work in the community. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Alarcon.
Members, I had the opportunity to meet with Veronica Padilla, and the very first thing she said was that she remembered when I spoke to her middle school class when I was first elected to the city council. So I'm very pleased to say that the conversation went much better after that. But actually, I'm very proud that I did have the opportunity to speak at Sun Valley Middle School when she was a student there. And I even recall some of the kids that volunteered on my campaign, and Veronica, of course, has emerged. Sun Valley Middle School is a tough school, and in fact, it was taken over by the state, or almost taken over by the state at one point when I was in the state senate. So to see somebody from Sun Valley Middle School emerge in her capacity it's a very proud moment for me, not only as the city councilman, but as a teacher. And so congratulations, Veronica. I also know that the nonprofit that she works for is an organization that seeks to correct the imbalances in our community, particularly those that impact on the disenfranchised from our community, and that's a perspective that is very much needed on the area planning councils, particularly in the North Valley. And so I'm a very strong supporter of Veronica, and I wish her well, and know that we'll be happy to work very closely with her, not only in her capacity as a director of the nonprofit, but in her capacity as the area planning commissioner.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you. A lot has been said about what you bring to the table, and I really appreciate your explanation of how involved you've been in the community. And I think it's important for people to understand that the reason why you're willing to take this volunteer responsibility, even though you work well over 40 hours a week in your day job, is because you do care about the community and you've actually experienced and witnessed some of the injustices of the environmental impacts on Sun Valley and other communities in the Northeast Valley because you've lived there, you grew up there. So I think it's important that we constantly try to find good people like you to place on these appointments so that we can have that kind of perspective and so that people understand that this city is about business, but it's the right kind of business. This city is about jobs, but it's the right kind of jobs. This city is about making sure that we do planning better than we did in the past and make sure that we don't put apartments next to chrome plating plants and that we don't put children's schools next to places that use a lot of chemicals and things of that nature. Everything has its place. Some things don't have their place anymore, thank God, in our community of Sun Valley. But I really appreciate what you bring to the table, and I want to thank you for your volunteerism and also remind you that, you know, you stand on the shoulders of a lot of people who've been here before you, and we're depending on you to look to your heart and to your mind, and now that you have your degree, to look to that too and do the right thing. And we know you will. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to add my congratulations, and particularly for a young woman from the Valley being on this planning commission. It's a particularly great area where there's a lot of issues happening on planning, and know that all of us appreciate your time and energy. It's not an easy position to go on. So I thank you and your proud parents that are here today. I know they're very proud of your accomplishments, and I think Mr. LaBonge was inspired as well to say a few words. So congratulations. We look forward to working with you. Mr. LaBonge.
I just think you said it. Just take a look at your beautiful family right there. Just take an extra minute. I vote, everybody.
And with that, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 2 is called special for cards from the public.
Yes, we go out to the San Fernando Valley. Ms. Fogler.
Good morning. I wanted to tell you that we need sewer improvements throughout the city, and the matter of fact that the wastewater treatment plants, you keep building and building the density out now. You have to keep upgrading these sewers, you know, and it's only so much the system can handle. If you don't keep expanding, you need to hire more people to take care of these the sewage plants. If you're going to build more and have more people coming demanding for more people to live here, and especially you want city employees to live in L.A., you have to give them decent wages to be able to buy a place here. And you know, you got to continue on with the by putting in these sewers. If you don't do it, and you'll keep putting expansion at the wastewater treatment plants, you know, the Hyperion and the Imperial wastewater, you're going to run out of room. You're going to have dumping in the Santa Monica Bay. So you're going to have to make the improvements. Whether the people like it or not, there are people who are going to have to be here. And you can't make it private because nobody's going to work doing this unless you pay them enough to do this kind of work. You got engineers, you got people who are taking care of watching the sewage plant. And you got to take care of the who's going to put in the sewers. This is a highly skilled work. You know, people from the private sector are welcome to come and work in the public, and we need to have a public service and to keep people accountable, the government and the administrators who are the city council, to make sure that these improvements are done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, any other comments on item number 2? If not, Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Madam President, actually, the hearing should be closed and the matter continue to June 3rd.
That will be the order. Next item.
Item 6 was being held on the desk for an amendment which has not come across just yet. Do you wish to keep holding that?
Yes. As soon as we get that, then we'll go for it. Ms. Perry?
Quite some time ago.
Do you have it verbally in front of you?
Yeah, I do.
Maybe we could just read it into the record.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that? If it's.
Did you want me to read it into the record?
If it's short, you want to do that, or we can see where it is and hold this on the desk. Up to you.
Why don't we see where it is and hold it on the desk then? Because I'm ready to go, but I'm not sure why it's not out yet. Because it's been about 20 minutes.
Okay. We'll check with the city clerk. I know they're looking at that now. Next item.
Item 9 was being held on the desk for Councilmember Reyes.
Same issue, Mr. Reyes?
We don't have the information yet, so.
Hold it
Hold
on
on
the
to a
desk.
little bit more.
Okay. Next item.
Item 17 was called special for cards from the public.
Yes, Mr. Zumadog on item number 17.
Yes, I hope I can even speak. I'm so upset about the outrageous cutoff. You cut me off. Just for the record, public
He's not
members
talking-
are allowed.
he's not
Public
talking on
members
this
are
item.
allowed to campaign. Elected officials
He's
aren't.
not talking on this item.
Item number 17. Yeah, we'll have a new city attorney soon. Let's see. We got the transit survey. I say we got a budget crisis. We don't need to be spending money on surveys about transit. You want a survey right now for free? We need more buses. We got too much density, and we got, just look at the traffic. There's people, you know, there's a lot of people lined up at the buses, okay? That we need more buses. Plain and simple. You don't need a study. We got $700 million budget deficit, so we can start right here by not doing a survey. Just do what you want to do. You don't have to study it. This is just a big way to spend money. The city loves to have studies because then their friends do them and the money goes there. They spend it. There's a lot of money. If I first make a problem, then you can spend a lot of money solving it. So, hey, let's figure. We don't know if there's we need we don't know what to do. Do we need additional transit service? The answer is yes. Plain and simple.
Thank you. That item is now before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 eyes.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 18 was called special by Councilmember Labange, and there are cards on that.
Yes, Mr. Would you have cards? You want to speak first or have the
Well, we have a
public
representative from LA Inc. that I can give a brief report from the center table, and if you'd like comments, whatever you choose. Carol
Yes.
Martinez is here.
speakers? Yes, Carol.
Well, I'm here today on behalf of LA Inc., the Los Angeles Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the more than 250,000 people in Los Angeles who work in the travel and tourism industry, the number 2 employer in the city. As you all know, travel and tourism is key to the economy of our city, keeping people employed. And presently, the United States government spends no money promoting the country as a destination. What the Travel Promotion Act calls for is a partnership of the private corporations and a tax on arriving visitors to create a $100 million budget to market the United States as a travel destination. We need to remember that places like Australia spend $130 million to tell the world about their great visitor destination, as do Canada, China, Greece, Mexico, and the United Kingdom. We think it's really great that the City Council is going to tell the leaders of the government that this is an important bill to the City of Los Angeles because tourism is such an important part of our economy. Plus, we want lots of visitors to come here and see how wonderful it is.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. And members, all of those over at LA Inc. and their board strongly support this. I strongly support this because this resolution will get focus from the federal government on a very important industry. With the challenge of today's world and the climate of today's world, people have a lot of choices to go. And if they choose not to come to the United States and go other places because of the difficulty that some of the challenges of today's world brings, we will see that in less opportunities for people to experience Southern California, California, and the Great Southwest. We are part of the Golden Triangle from Los Angeles to the Grand Canyon, through Las Vegas, through Death Valley, Owens Valley, and then out to San Francisco and down the coast. This House bill is important for all of Los Angeles. I urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Before we go to our next 2 council speakers, we'll just hear from Mr. Zumadog. Mr. Zumadog.
Yes, you can sit and thank you for paying attention. Sometimes they don't even look. So this is about travel promotion. Of course, we need travel because we need economic stimulus. The number one thing the city needs is economic stimulus, travel. But I would do some things like don't let people see about the Skid Row problem. Try to hide that in your travel, that we got the Skid Row problem. We can't get rid of the homeless people. Don't let people find out about that. Also, no pictures of the 405 or 10 freeway, because if people see that, they won't want to come and visit at all. Also, you might want to say that downtown, when you come down, really, you better plan on having to go to Beverly Hills or other areas for your shopping. There's no amenities or nothing really to do downtown. So, basically stay outside of maybe some of the suburbs or maybe just Beverly Hills or whatever. I like the Venice area. And also, I'm against nonprofit. They want to set up a nonprofit. There's been a lot of problems in this state. Look at things like Fabian Nunez with his associations with Arnold Schwarzenegger on those nonprofits. We've seen Fox 11 News reports about about nonprofit money. We know, see, with nonprofits, there's no transparency or accountability. And what happens is these politicians, they vote to have a nonprofit, they vote the money to themselves, and then through front-loaded patronage contracts, a lot of the money is pilfered, disappears, they triple expenses, they do everything to drive up cost. And so what happens is that's very bad. So we do, with the nonprofits. So if there's some way we could possibly achieve this without nonprofits, because there's huge problems with corruption. I say there's a lot of racketeering, RICO Act violations regarding a lot of the nonprofits that these city council members are voting money into. So possibly we could put this on hold and continue it till next time, because before we give any money for nonprofits, I think we need a Laura Chick audit to make sure that we have transparency and accountability for the reasons I said. And whatever you do, take pictures of LA from the past in the travel brochures, because it's just turned into a terrible mess of density, smog, traffic, crowdedness. And you know what? I don't even think, why would anyone want to come here for vacation anyway? Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Ms. Hahn, followed by Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank my council colleague, Tom LaBonge, for introducing this resolution so that we can put our stamp of approval on this bill. I agree. I mean, tourism is so important to Los Angeles. Tourism is the second largest industry in Los Angeles, and it's key to providing jobs, to helping our economic development. And in this time of recession and downturn, particularly in the dollar, you know, we want to promote this as a viable place to come, and we want that kind of information easily accessible to people who are considering coming here for whatever reason, pleasure, business. This is really important. Tourism is key to so much that we're doing. We know that a 4% increase in tourism translates to about $12 million to our general fund. Those are dollars, particularly in this tough budget time, are key, are important, so we really support this. So thanks, Tom, for introducing this. I think this is important for us to have this message loud and clear. We want this to go through. We want a better way to attract tourists to this country, and particularly Los Angeles.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning. Tell us real quickly what LA Inc. is for the world to know.
LA Inc. is the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and it's our job to tell the world about what a great place Los Angeles is to have a vacation and a meeting and a convention.
With this federal legislation, you expect it to pass this session before they go on recess for politics 2008?
We hope so.
Mm-hmm. And will we get grants from that group to assist us in our work here in LA?
We won't necessarily get grants from that money, but what will happen is, because LA is such a high-profile and desirable destination for visitors, we know that when tourism to the United States grows, tourism to Los Angeles will grow.
Yeah, well, we know it's going to happen. It's happening right now. The dollar's down the tubes. The whole world is coming here to take advantage of bargains that they never could get before. We got 25 more customs agents planned, according to Michael Chernoff in the meeting the mayor and I had with him back east, and 22 backfilled replacements. So hopefully we'll have enough folks to greet them pleasantly. You don't have to wait in planes for a couple of hours before they go through the processing at America. So we'd like a report back at a certain point, would you, on how that status is going with the tourism coming in, with the customs agent? I know it's not your area, but you're sensitive to that. Okay?
I certainly am, and I'd be happy to do that.
And the last thing is about our stars and sparklies in our great city, this entertainment capital of the planet. Are they involved with you in LA Inc. and saying how great LA is as a place for us to go?
They certainly are. They really step up to the plate and talk about all the wonderful things in Los Angeles, and all the celebrity shopping on Abbott Kinney Boulevard helps
There you
bring
go.
attention.
Very smart. Well, thank you so much for coming before us.
Sure.
Mr. LaBonge.
Yeah, just to be clarified, so everybody, this is House Bill 3232, as requested our support for the city of Los Angeles to help enhance tourism throughout the United States. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Seeing no other speakers on the queue, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item?
Matter forthwith.
Forthwith. Thank you.
Item 20 was called special for cards from the public.
Yes, Miss Miriam Fogler in the San Fernando Valley, followed by Donna Pearman. Ms. Fogler?
I would like to read what the Daily News said in yesterday's paper's article, Overtime. It said it added much of the extra pay is being driven by the cost of providing necessity city services and security for special events, from marathon to parades that are granted fee waivers, folks. And Szabo said that the mayor is continuing to pressure the city council to stop granting such waivers to the city, so the city can be reimbursed for its services at thousands of dollars at thousands of such events every year. If we ended the fee waivers for every event, we sufficiently reduce overtime. That $120 million would just kind of evaporate most of it. The council is waiting for a report on the cost of providing city services, special events, including overtime costs for security, folks. Don't forget, you got to pay for all that and closing off the streets. This is a very expensive waivers that we're doing here, folks. It's not just what's listed here. I'm sure it's much more than what Sharon Brewer says. There's hidden costs that are not being disclosed. And I would appreciate with Bev Barrett. I talked to her a little bit late. She understands the point of view of me about public service, but there is some things that she could help out on this too, to bring out the inefficiency reports of the fee waivers that are not being reported the true amount. That like all these hidden costs, they should be up front. This is a public. We're trying to make the government hold accountability here, and since because I have employees here that work here a long time, and I love them all. They want accountability so that they can, be fair and have everything fair. And the Department of Water and Power as well, and the lawyers making 50% more. That's outrageous. With this, all these costs adds up, folks, and we need to have it open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pearman. Donna Pearman, followed by Sharon Brewer.
Okay, I'm also going to repeat what she just said. He added that much of the extra pay is being driven by the cost of providing necessary city services and security for special events, from marathon to parades, but are granted fee waivers. Szabo said the mayor is continuing to pressure the city council to stop granting such waivers so the city can be reimbursed for its services at thousands of such events every year. We ended fee waivers for every event. We significantly reduce overtime, Szabo said. The council is waiting for a report on the cost of producing city services for special events, including overtime costs for security. In today's paper, special events are a problem, Villagrosa said, noting many are granted fee waivers that mean city services, including security, security does not being reimbursed. And lastly, City Administrative Officer Karen Susan said she was surprised to learn that so many non-public safety employees were accumulating overtime. And I'd just like to make a quick comment on two that I think are way too much. The 20th annual La La Mardi Gras Festival on May 10th, $16,939. And another one, the AFI Life Achievement Award, a tribute to Warren Beatty, on June 12th, $6,886, which is an American Film Institute. Certainly they can afford to pay for their own things. So I think people should be able to be paying for their own events, and then the whole city won't be having to pay for it. The people that go to these events, I think they're even paying for these events, and so it's double dipping, and I don't think this is right. You can't have these events charged and also give them a fee waiver at the same time, so they're making huge amounts of money. And you talk about the city employees, and all these event people are making lots of money. Cut them down. Save the city money.
Ms. Sharon Brewer.
Sharon Brewer, item number 20, special event fee waivers. 16 total, 13 with amounts, $57,495 to reimburse, 1 no amount. We have 3 after the event, amount totaling $24,402, plus 1 is a no amount given. We have 3 block parties for $6,405. Where are the neighborhood councils? We have 2 religious events, total $7,943. We have item number L, which is a Juneteenth celebration that The sponsor is LAC plus USC. City Council just got through going and approving a fee waiver on 5/7 for a Cinco de Mayo event for $1,349. So these people are back, and now their total for two events they're asking is $3,509. I want to address P, which is the 2008 4th of July Family Fireworks, CD2, $7,112. Sunland Tujunga Neighborhood Council with Verdugo High School football program is going and sponsoring it. I want it to be known that as of May 1st, the balance in the Sunland Tujunga Neighborhood Council bank account is $33,508.26. They also have not done any audits since October of 2006 to March 2008. That's over 15 months. Why is a neighborhood council with a balance of over $33,000 asking for $7,112? Also, you have a Dianetics event that is specific for Scientology, and the $16,939 is the sponsor's Louisiana to LA Organizing Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zumadog?
Yes, I think with the City Council, here's something I think will outrage the people. With the $700 million budget crisis, you're tripling trash collection fees to pay for cops that you're not hiring, and you're cutting services, you're cutting jobs. I think this is no time for the city to be picking up the tab for a tribute to Warren Beatty. Womp, 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 womp. That's where your money's going. They're cutting services. They're tripling your trash collection fees. They're firing people citywide. They can't hire enough cops. They're raising your fees. They're creating new taxes. And they want to pay city taxpayer dollars for a tribute to Warren Beatty. I say that stinks. And I say you take that item and you say no on A. Also, item number C, Dianetics event. That's Scientology. Just so the city knows they're picking up the tab for Scientology, no matter what you call it. Here's something, item D. They're going to approve something, no fees and costs submitted. Fees and costs, none submitted. Oh, what if it's $8 billion? You're going to approve it. I say you got to remove that one. Do you know how much you say? This is how the city ends up being in a $700 million budget deficit. Okay, and let's see what else is going on in this shady event. Okay, let's see the next item up for bid on the City Council's Price is Right. $16,000 for a festival street party. Woo-la! Let's party in the streets and talk about how we're all getting fired and how we don't have enough police and how we're tripling our trash collection fees and how we're having new fees and taxes all the time. There's going to be a half a cent sales tax now for transportation, everything they can think of. But let's throw a big party to talk about how we can't hire enough people and how the city's going to hell in a handbasket because the city's wasteful spending. No wonder this city council is the laughing stock of the nation on cable talk shows. I say start
Please
right
do
now
not
by
scream.
doing the things I just said. And Jose Aguilar for Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council.
If I could ask you, Mr. Zumadog, please not to yell into the microphone. We've asked you that before. Thank you. Madam Clerk, that ends the public comment period. If you could open the roll on...
And Madam President,
item
just for the
20.
record, there is a substitute that was submitted on item F.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on item 20, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item. Oh, before we go there, I'm sorry. Mr. Reyes was ready on item number 9. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. If I can ask the staff to come to the center table on item number 9. Colleagues, this is a item that speaks to a need for staffing the Northeast Los Angeles Interim Control Ordinance. It's a issue that came before Budget and Finance. The current action is noted in file, but I wanted to ask the staff to speak to us about what is it that they're going through in the ICO, the type of staff that we need, and how note and file will not address the existing pressures the staff is going through. And I'll make a recommendation towards the end. But the fact is, putting forth the Northeast Community Plan and getting that community plan ordinance in place is a high priority. We've been going through many different ICOs on the hillsides, working on Taylor Yard, and these are issues that we're contending with. But if you can please address the body as to what our current position is and the need to have the staff that you are requesting.
Councilmember Reyes, Charlie Roush, Planning Department staff. I'm the senior city planner for the area. The work program for the Northeast ICO takes in approximately 13,000 parcels of land. Approximately 5,000 of those are developed. The remainder are undeveloped, and that's what my staff is currently working on right now, are project permits for people coming in developing single-family homes in this area, including the environmental clearances. It's very staff-intensive, as well as advising property owners on as to their rights under the interim control ordinance. So it's very labor-intensive. We have one person full-time, two people half-time on the project at this time, not to mention all of the public hearings and public workshops that we've been going through.
Now, can you please explain what happened the last Budget and Finance dialogue when this position was addressed? The report says that it was not needed, or there's language to that effect. Can you please clarify what was the position of the Planning Department at that time? Please hold my time.
Good morning. Eva Yuan McDaniel, City Planning. What happened was when we received notice that the item was going to be heard by Plum and Budget and Finance this time, and I reviewed the memo prepared by the CAO, and the memo did not recommend a position and indicated that planning was going to absorb the workload. And I had discussion with the CAO's office and indicated that as more cases are coming in and staff is being spread really thin to handle new community plan and all the other cases, the department did have, or does today, have the need for staffing, especially on the city planner level, to provide supervision and also leadership to the staff who are doing the work. And also I went to Plum and Budget and Finance. Unfortunately, at both times, the item was received and was not heard up to the committee. I also had a discussion with the CLA after the meeting, and I indicated the Planning Department's position, which was that we do need a city planner position.
Okay.
But I was surprised to see that it was still not a recommendation. But
the bottom line is that the staff that is doing the work today does not fit the need in terms of level of expertise that a city planner would offer. It was a city planner who was doing the real work.
the city planner position will be the direct supervisor to the staff. And currently, because of that void, the supervision and leadership is being done by Charlie Roush, the senior planner. And Charlie has a lot of other responsibilities, so it's very difficult for Charlie to provide the supervision that is needed by the group for the kind of the level of work being done by the Northeast ICO group.
So Charlie, if you want to describe some of the other juggling act that you're performing.
Certainly. We're short 2 city planners in my area right now. I'm directly supervising 6 city planning assistants and associates, as well as all the other. I take care of all the casework in the entire Metro East and the South Los Angeles areas, and I'm basically, and I sign off on all the planning commission work for the hearing officers. So basically my job is full-time in case processing, and I am devoting a large amount of time to community planning type work instead of doing my full-time position, which is in case processing. So this city planner would definitely be advantageous to me in taking care of the case processing and getting cases out on time.
And I want to thank my colleagues and Budget Finance Committee, because I know they've been working hard in trying to create the type of tools and staff so that we can fulfill our goals with community plans while processing our casework, while expediting key projects, landmark projects, while changing our attitude and our culture, quite frankly, and how we engage community stakeholders, from the neighborhood councils all the way through to the property owners, to the tenants. So it's a large city, very diverse. Every neighborhood has their own set of circumstances, and you're dealing with it all at the same time. So I believe, Ms. CAO, can you please introduce yourself?
Jacob Wexler with the CAO's office.
Do you happen to know how many positions we've already supplemented the planning department with in the past couple of years or past year?
Well, I know that in the 07-08 budget, approximately 34 positions were added for case processing, and additional positions are under consideration for the 08-09 budget, and they'll be before you shortly.
I do know the mode we're in right now is if we're going to increase funding for a position, we have to find it from somewhere else. Knowing that that's a real challenge, colleagues, what I'd like to suggest as a motion that we move to grant an employment authority to one city planner in the planning department that is unfunded, and within the positions that have already been funded, have the planning department sort out how that can be achieved. Is that something that we can move forward with so that we don't delay any further hiring someone?
Yes, sir.
I know it affects the Northeast area, and I know you said budget and finance. Is that something that we could agree with?
Mr. Weisar's next on the queue. Would you like him to?
Well, thank you, colleagues. That would be my motion for this action.
Is there a second to that motion?
Yes. Yes, been seconded. Ms. Weisar.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, and thank the Planning Department for all the hard work you put into the interim control ordinance. When I came on board about 2 years ago, it was a priority of mine to make sure that we move that ICO forward, particularly at the time when real estate prices were booming and it was more profitable, or it was profitable, to build on the hillsides, and so there was a lot of demand to build in some environmentally sensitive hillside areas in northeast Los Angeles. I have as one of my priorities in the area to protect the hillsides and our sensitive natural resources in the area, so I applaud the Planning Department for the work you've been doing on this. But my question is this. The department, while the report as written says we will fund one city planner, where would the funding come from as the report is written right now?
Councilmember, as the report was written, it was initially drafted in 2006. At that time, there was a line item in the city's unappropriated balance during that fiscal year for council-initiated planning projects. Those funds are no longer available in the unappropriated balance. They've been used for other purposes. At this point, the funding for this position would come from savings that the department would generate, likely in their salary account or in other accounts if possible. So it would just have to come out of, it'd be absorbed by this.
But as the report is written right now, where would the funds come from? Prior to Mr. Reyes' motion.
As the report is written right now, the recommendation for funding in the report is no longer relevant because the funding source that was identified is no longer available.
Okay, so if Mr. Reyes wouldn't put his motion through today, how would this position be funded if we passed this motion today?
If Mr. Reyes' motion were approved today...
No. If Mr. Reyes wouldn't have made his motion today, and we just approved this item, where would the funding come from?
The recommendation before the council today is to note and file the CEO's 2006-2007 report. So the position would not be approved if the item was approved. If the Budget and Finance Committee or the Personnel Committee report were approved today, there would be no position approved today.
So we would have approved we would have noted and filed, and this position would not have been approved.
Correct.
I mean, it wouldn't have been filled because there's no funding for it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Do you have in your planning department sufficient funding to find the available funds to fill this position in the planning department?
Yes, Councilman Weisar. The planning department has been always operating in the surplus, and we will do everything possible to look at other vacancies to fund this position because it is critical to our work program.
So we're going to approve Mr. Reyes's motion, which directs you, the planning department, and the city council directs the planning department to find the funding to fill this position, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think that even though the real estate boom is not what it used to be, there's still a lot of demand on those what we keep seeing, less and less available open space. And so this is of critical importance, and I thank you, the Planning Department, for finding the funds to make this possible. And thank you, Mr. Reyes, for continuing to advocate for ways to protect that open space. That area covers both of our districts, and as we move forward, I know we have some plans in place to continue to strengthen the ACO to eventually get to potentially a specific plan that will more forcefully protect the little available open space we have left in those hillside areas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think, Mr. Reyes and Mr. Weisar, when we hear the budget tomorrow, it may be one of the options as adopting in the CLA report. You can make that motion to be included in the budget, that the position authority be there, no funding, and the department to come back. So we can add that, Mr. Weisar can, as a motion in the budget committee tomorrow. So when it comes to the full council next week, it will be included as an item with no funding. But
Great.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure, and I want to hear this from the staff, if the authority position is offered, and do I have a commitment from you that we will begin our phase 2 of scope of work for the Northeast LA hillsides? Can that start in January?
That is a part of our work program, and we will go forward with it.
So we have that commitment.
On my part, yes.
Okay,
And
it's
I'm
on
sure the
tape.
department's.
You have
All
the
right.
department's commitment.
Got thousands of witnesses. So,
We're on TV.
We got the whole city, Councilman.
okay, well, we would appreciate that very much. I ask for an aye vote, colleagues.
Thank you. So that, I think it'll be an amending motion there, and Mr. Weisar will take care of that in budget. Oh, sorry, Mr. Cart. Okay. Mr. Labange, did you want to comment?
Thank you. I think this is one of the older sections of Los Angeles, and all of us share in this here. One of the challenges is every lot in the city, from Chatsworth to San Pedro, from Boyle Heights to Venice, is going to be built on. And unless there's the right thought, which the people around this table and on the 5th, 6th, and other floors of this building is given to it, it won't be done the justice that it deserves. Every lot is going to be built on. It needs the help from the planning department to make sure it's done right, and also the mansionization issue, which is still coming down the line to make sure it balances all these issues, because it does affect some of the hillside areas of Highland Park, Eagle Rock, Elysian Park, Elysian Heights, and Silver Lake and Los Feliz as well. Thank you, Mr. Reyes, for your help, and Mr. Weisar as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe, Mr. Clerk, then it will be amended as we've discussed. Please open the roll on this item, Madam Clerk. Close the roll and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item. If we could just, yes, item 6.
The amendment has now been circulated.
Yes, Ms. Perry.
Madam Chair, the amended motion has been passed out and has been received by everyone. And this is a long-awaited project because it is one of the second projects to come through the TFAR ordinance, where the developer paid a transfer fee and public benefit payment upon issuance of a building permit. The developer will pay $14 million plus in public benefits to the Downtown Women's Center, to Skid Row Housing Trust, connect the rail line at Hill and 4th and 5th, and he's receiving an in lieu credit of $2.3 million for this. Have silver LEED certification of the project. He will enter into a PLA and do local hiring and receive an in lieu credit of $500,000 for this. $5.4 million for the improvement of Pershing Square, with an instruction to CRA or its designee to report back in 6 months with the status of the improvements and funding, and a transfer payment to the Public Benefits Trust Fund to allocate these funds for the improvement of Pershing Square. All of these proposed allocations are subject to the approval of the Trust Fund Committee, which is comprised of the Council, the Mayor, the CAO, the CLA, the Council offices of the TFAR donor site, and the TFAR receiver site. The committee also has representatives from the Community Advisory Committee that gives input to the CRA and to the Neighborhood Council. Once the transfer is approved, the mayor and the council and the Public Benefits Committee will convene and decide where the funds should be allocated, and the vote of the Public Benefits Committee will then be transmitted to council and the mayor for final review and approval. I did this amendment today, Amendment 6A, as a nod to the concerns of some of the business organizations on Main Street. I think it is a good compromise because it will promote the construction of retail space at the street level, which is necessary to generate revenue to maintain the buildings, and subterranean parking to bring in new customers and clients, and a review of the plans. That being said, I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Mr. City Attorney?
Thank you, Madam President. Because the amendment might be viewed as a substantial change since the item was in committee, council should reopen a limited public hearing to speak to the amendment.
We do have one public comment card. Russell Brown.
Good morning, Russell Brown, 411 South Main Street. I'm president of the Downtown LA Neighborhood Council. I'm also executive director of the Historic Downtown Bid and a 6-year resident. We very much approve this project and the transfer. This has been a 3-year project that's gone through extensive community outreach, world-class design, hotel, condominiums, and living. It also will have a dramatic renaissance on the neighborhood that's presently a surface parking lot. We especially are proud of the public benefits part of it, which includes affordable housing. There has been an earmarked proposed to Skid Row Housing Trust, and Jan's motion does deal with some of this. Presently, that part of it has not had a full public vetting, but we very much look forward to having a mixed-income neighborhood with good neighbor policies of all of our affordable housing, transparent, open, honest, and being able to leverage the maximum amount of funds to provide both housing and services. It's especially important with the revitalization of the historic core, the Art Walk, and Main Street, that the storefronts be activated. Presently, we have a lot of spaces that are social services that are quiet and dead at night, that attract gangs and other problems, and we want to really be great partners in a mixed income community. But we're very much in support of this, and thank Jan for her motion.
Thank you very much. That closes public comment. Mr. Wiesar.
I just have a quick question for the CRA. I want to understand how the $2.5 million to from the Skid Row Housing Trust Fund will work, and how that transaction is taking place, just to understand it. I think this project it's a worthwhile one and certainly support it. I just need to ask that question real quick. Can you identify yourself, please?
Lillian Birkenheim from the Community Redevelopment Agency.
Thank you. So as part of the concessions in terms of allowing additional TFAR here, the developer is going to provide 74 permanent supportive residents, correct?
Correct.
Are those at the location or somewhere else?
At off-site.
Off-site. Now, we are also giving $2.5 million from the Skid Row Housing Trust Fund. So I'm having a hard time understanding how, if it's a concession for them to get this benefit, they're going to build these permanent supportive housing beds, but now we're giving $2.5 from our Housing Trust Fund.
It's not from the Housing Trust Fund.
It's not.
The funds that are generated through the TFAR, the $14 million that the developer is paying for the use of that extra density, they're putting that money into a variety of activities. Two of those activities, one is for the Downtown Women's Center for permanent supportive housing, and the other is the Skid Row Housing Trust for permanent supportive housing. So it's not from the Housing Trust. They're both coming from the developer into those two different, it's just the name of the organization is Trust. It's not the Housing Trust.
It's not so the Skid Row Housing Trust Fund. We're giving $2.5 million from the...
Right, but it's not a fund. It's the Skid Row Housing Trust is the name of the organization. It's not the fund. The fund is coming from the developer.
Okay. My notes say that we're giving $2.5 million from the Skid Row Housing Trust Fund for the development of the retail and subterranean parking.
With Skid Row Housing Trust, so that they can go ahead and do a low-income development that fits within the neighborhood of Central City East.
Okay.
So
let me ask one more time.
Okay.
The city is allocating $2.5 million from the Skid Row Housing Trust for the development of retail space and subterranean parking, correct?
No.
That's what the motion says.
The Developer is allocating $2.5 million to Skid Row Housing Trust for the development of permanent supportive housing on Main Street. That housing is going to be built above the ground level. At the ground level, the developer's money will be used for retail. There is no city money from this allocation that's going into the housing or to the retail.
Well, I need this further explained then, because
Okay.
the motion clearly states that the CRA will allocate $2.5 million to Skid Row. Oh, I see. I get it. For the development of retail spaces subject for the new Genesis project. Okay. Got it.
The reason I amended the motion is because there is some concern about having retail at the street level and to be consistent with that, even if a nonprofit owns the building, and that's why I submitted the amending motion, to make that clear that they'll still get the money's still going there, but that they will have retail at the ground level, and to accommodate that retail, the money will also be spent on subterranean parking so that for people who are not coming there necessarily as clients, but people who are coming there to shop at the retail, they'll have a place to park.
Got it. I just got this motion and just quickly read it. I understand it now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas?
Yeah, question to the staff. Jan, could you send her back? Lillian?
So sorry.
Now, the money or the agreed-on mitigation funds on this project to the community, isn't one of them relevant to serving the population of the community in a certain radius from the project?
Yes, according to the city ordinance that adopted the TFAR ordinance, the TFAR plan, it needs to be spent within 3 miles of the downtown of the project area.
So how much money is going to go into the TFAR account for this area?
$14.5 million.
I'm sorry?
$14.5 million.
$14.5 million. The moment that money goes into that account, is it considered unallocated funds or?
No, it's you're allocating it actually right now.
Okay.
It goes into very specific expenditures that are part of the motion that you have.
Can that money be swept into the general fund by some action of the mayor or the council subsequent
cannot.
to today?
It's a separate fund and cannot be.
Okay, so it's specific and delineated. As soon as it arrives in that account, it cannot be swept into the general fund.
Correct. The only time that it moves from that fund is when the specific committee that's assigned meets and makes a decision. But generally, it's exactly what you approved for today.
Okay, thank you.
If I may add, Adrian Garcia from the CLA's office, there is a transfer payment of 3.5 that is cash that's going to be paid to this trust fund, in which the committee then decides how to spend in the future.
Thank you.
Ms. Perry, would you like to?
I think my time.
You're fine. Okay. Thank you very much. This item is now before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. I believe the next item, Mr. Clerk, is going to be item 26 before we go to item 24. It was called special by card. I do not see Mr. Zumadog here in the room, so that item is now before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on item 26, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Secondly, on item number 17, we'd ask that to be reconsidered. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on item 17 to be reconsidered, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Colleagues, that item will be referred back to Transportation Committee to get an update on the legislation. So that'll be the order. Next item?
That leaves item 24.
Item 24, I know, is called special by Mr. Reyes. Colleagues, we do have some public comment cards on this item. We will be going into executive session on this item. In addition, this item will be continued until Friday. After we have the discussion today, I want to make that publicly known that the item will be continued until Friday. However, we will have conversations about it today in executive session. If I can, please call up the following individuals. First, Mr. Arnold Sachs, followed by Jorge Gonzalez and Carol Sobel. And then we have two from the San Fernando Valley. Mr. Sachs. This is on a closed session item.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you. Yeah, I've been before you on, I believe, a few other times regarding fees for the city attorney's office and getting a running balance, especially about fees from the city attorney's office. I even asked about in-house fees versus out-house fees. But according to an item in today's Daily Breeze, in the editorial section, the city attorney's office spent $32 million a year on outside counsel in 2006. And just to break that down for you, that comes to $13,300 a day, 5 days a week for the year 2006. That's a lot of city attorney money. And pass right through the city council, no problems. We need to get some accounting and accountability from these departments. This isn't a proprietary department. Somebody should want to step up and say, what are we spending money on for our city attorneys, and then going to go out and spend, this is says $32 million in 2006. It's got to be more than $32 million this year and next year. So that would have been cheap. We need some people to step up and say, where is the money going? We have the budget deficit. We have city attorneys on contract who work for the city. We find out, especially with the huge award that was given out in the fireman's award, that the outside attorney got more money than was awarded to the fireman, almost. Pretty close. We need some people to step up. Thank you for your time and your answers.
Thank you.
And your attention.
Next speaker is Carol Sobel, followed by Jorge Gonzalez, and then we have two speakers in the San Fernando Valley. Ms. Sobel.
Thank you, Madam President. We have communicated with the council by letter on this matter, and I'm not going to go into what we said in that, but we think this is an important matter for the council. This is one of the largest cases that the city has faced in a long time. It has, to this point, 300 people who have filed in some action. But most of those people have relatively small claims. There are a few that are outside the grid, but most are relatively small claims. We are set for settlement talks in July and August. The city agreed to them. We all told the federal judge in May that we would do that. We, the Miwon Plaintiffs Council, have made sure that all but two of the federal cases, two have a little different issues, but all but two are involved in this settlement. And we've reached out to everyone. If the city is serious about the settlement, then it should postpone any decision on hiring outside staff or hiring more inside staff. By and large, these are not complicated cases. You know, you have a 6-month-old with a baton strike impression across their head. You don't have to work that case up. You have somebody who's got the bruise and imprint of a baton. There's not a lot to work up. So we think it's important to approach this in the most cost-effective manner. It's not in our interest. If the city decides to litigate, we will ultimately get more fees. But it's in the interest of the city to settle these cases for a reasonable amount as soon as possible, or at least to settle most of them as soon as possible. And in that regard, we think it's important for the council to have some oversight about how this case is progressing. The mayor and members of the council are expressing publicly that they want to have settlement discussions go forward. The city attorney is saying we're going to litigate this for 3 years. That's inconsistent and it's not wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sobel. Mr. Gonzalez.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Council. I want to concur in the remarks of my co-counsel, Carol Sobel. And I want to assure the city that, often I think in cases like this, there's a lot of concern that the attorneys are over sending their clients to doctors and they're overbilling and they're trying to bring the damages claims up and doing everything they can. They would allow the attorneys to obtain more fees. And I want to assure the council that at least with respect to all the council on the class action, which is me one, that is not the case. We've made tremendous efforts in not to have redundant work being done by all of us. We've separated all these cases into teams. We have an older lawyer working with a younger lawyer, and we're essentially doing everything that we can to keep the fees down. I think that any effort to hire outside counsel is then going to be problematic. You have to think about how are they going to be dividing up the work? Are they going to divide it up amongst the claims, the issues? Are they going to have some firms just deal with the motion practice? Are they going to go and look at every single case and try to litigate every single case as far as the damages are concerned? We've made tremendous efforts in being both reasonable and responsible in putting together these damages claims. We've been meeting with a committee that is essentially making sure that it's consistent amongst all of the class action clients, as well as now interfacing with all the private attorneys that have an additional about 85 to 90 clients as well. All those cases are being valued in the same fashion, using the same methodology that we're doing with the class action clients. So I think that it's very important that the council look at if it's a case that almost everybody in the city and in the world can see that the city has liability. Do we really need to litigate this to death? Because the minute you start spending a lot of money on a lot of lawyers defending it, it's going to cause us to work harder too.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go out to the San Fernando Valley. Miriam Fogler, followed by Donna Pearman. Ms. Fogler, both of them, or just Miriam? You have 1 minute.
1 minute?
Yes.
Well, how many minutes did I do already today?
4 minutes by the city attorney's count.
Well, then I'm entitled to my 2 minutes.
If you could, please go ahead.
Okay, now I get 2 minutes.
For the city attorney's indicated you have 1 minute.
I only spoke 4 minutes today. How come I'm only down to 1 minute now? That's not correct. It should be 6 minutes. Anyway, can I start my clock again?
We'll start again, but Ms. Fogler, please keep going.
Okay. All right. The gentleman that spoke earlier, he's right about this. And, my mom, may she rest in peace, she said that lawyers are the biggest money makers there is. And that's the worst thing we need at this time when our city's in a budget crisis. We don't need to hire these firms. We need to cut down and use our own department here. Please vote no on this. This is not right. It's immoral and unethical to take the money from our reserve fund. They're going to have budget hearings tomorrow. So, I got 50 more seconds. Remember?
No, you have 22 more seconds.
Okay. So what I'm just saying is that we need to go by what the gentleman previously said, that I don't want to litigate this to a point where you're making the city workers blame it on somebody, the scapegoat for what you're making these unnecessary wrong decisions for the city. And people need to be
thank you very much,
accountable for it.
Thank you, Ms. Fogler. Donna Pearman. Ms. Pearman?
How long do I have? 1 minute?
You have 2 minutes, Ms. Pearman.
Oh, okay.
2 minutes? She had the same thing to me.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad to see the mayor is videoing Rocky's office asking for 9 outside lawyer firms taking care of Mayday fiasco. And Rocky's office, they're making 50% more than the private industry. Glad to see the mayor is not going to allow you to accept these huge costs. Certainly, Rocky's office can take care of the problem, said here. I feel these people should be following the law. I heard they went in an area roped off where they're not supposed to go. A lot of time, police are in the right, doing their jobs. People don't appreciate police, but when they do overstep, certainly Rocky's office with their overpaid lawyers can take care of it. If the police is correct, reward them, just as you dock them when they're doing wrong. Thank you, Mayor, for doing one right thing, because I think that the city council, they just automatically accept these things. They like to spend money, and I'm glad the mayor is not going to accept this. We don't need 9 outside lawyer firms on that from Rocky's office. Certainly, their overpriced lawyers can take care of this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. That closes public comment. We will now be going into closed session. We'd ask the guards to please clear the room. And reminder that every council member just has one staff member here in the council chambers.
And for the record, council will be going into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A regarding United States District Court case entitled Multi-Ethnic Immigrant Worker Organization Network versus City.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, we've now finished closed session. For the public, the item that was before us on item number 24 will not be continued to Friday. It will actually be continued until Tuesday of next week, a week from today. Mr. Clerk, next items.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those will be posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Zine requests to be excused Monday, May 19th and Tuesday, May 20th for personal business. A motion is required for the 20th.
Ms. Hahn moves. Mr. Labange seconds.
Councilmember Labange requests to be excused Friday, June 20th for city business and Friday, October 10th for personal business. Both meet council policy.
Yes, Ms. Perry moves. Mr. Reyes seconds. Yes, we have the 16, that wants to go forthwith? Yes,
yeah.
I was going to do that right after this.
And Councilmember Alarcon requests to be excused Monday, May 19th for city business. That also meets council policy.
Thank you. We would like items 16, 19, and 21 to be forthwith today.
And that would clear the desk.
Thank you. Any announcements, colleagues? Announcements. Any adjourning motions today, colleagues? Yes, we do have adjourning motions. If we could please ask everyone to rise.
Unless we did.
I'd like to acknowledge Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I'm not sure if we did this or not, but I wanted us to adjourn in the memory of Laura Richardson's father, Lawrence Larry Richardson, who passed away on May 6th. He was 77. He lived in Los Angeles and spent much of his adult life working as a teacher and administrator. He first taught at Los Angeles Juvenile Hall in the late 50s and then in Pico Rivera School District. He later became principal of Emory High School in Northern California. His last post was in the Inglewood School District, where he taught at Crozier Junior High and was principal at Morningside High School. He retired from the district in 1993. He was the first in his family to go to college, attending Ithaca College in New York before enlisting in the Army, and then after an honorable discharge, he enrolled in Northwestern University, earning a bachelor's degree in music education. I was in attendance when Laura Richard was sworn in as a congresswoman, and he was there that day, and I'm sure it gave him great pride to see Laura achieve the ranks of congresswoman.
Let's have all members for that. Thank you, Ms. Hahn, for that. Yes. All members, yes. And Mr. Zine, I believe, had two adjourning motions.
Thank you, Madam President. The first one is Danton Burroughs, passed away May 1st. Danton Burroughs, one of the great guardians of popular culture and California history, died in his home in Tarzana May 1st. Lifelong resident of San Fernando Valley, grandson of Edgar Rice Burroughs, who brought the world Tarzan of the Apes and was responsible for naming the city of Tarzana. Danton Burroughs supported the Tarzana History Museum and also the Museum of San Fernando Valley, as well as running the foundations that protect the works of Edgar Rice Burroughs. This will ensure his stewardship continues in the future. He will be greatly missed. I had the opportunity to meet him a number of occasions. He always had a very warm smile, a friendly hello, and may he rest in peace, Danton Burroughs. And my second adjourning motion is for Bob McCord, passed away May 12th. Bob McCord passed away at the age of 69. McCord settled in the West Valley in 76 and established Sagebrush Cantina restaurant in Calabasas, which is on the border of LA and Calabasas. Sagebrush Cantina became local landmark, community gathering spot, serving up an award-winning Mexican-California menu, as well as a variety of entertainment. The restaurant also served as McCord's showcase of antique circus artifacts that included a carousel. With his flamboyant personality, Bob McCord was a community icon and developed a loyal customer base of residents, families, young adults, government officials, and celebrities. Also known for his community support and generosity, helping to raise funds for local schools, political candidates, and special programs. Also known to fill up his catering truck and drive to fire lines to feed the firefighters fighting fires in the area. For the past 20 years, he opened the Sagebrush Canteen each Thanksgiving to feed senior citizens a free turkey dinner, grown to feed 500 individuals on Thanksgiving. Among his community involvement was serving as president of the Calabasas Chamber of Commerce. A great man who will be missed dearly, survived by his son Robbie, his mother Wanda, sister Penny Burton, Bob McCord. May he rest in peace. And just a comment, I knew Bob when I was a member of the LAPD. We met a number of times on law enforcement issues, and then I became a council member, and he was always supportive of any community program, any charitable organization that wanted to have an event. He would fund the event. He was a very, very generous man, and he died of an unknown illness. He will be greatly missed in the community. He was a favorite hangout for people on Sunday afternoons with their Harley Davidsons. There'd be hundreds of motorcycle riders, and Bob would be there greeting them, and he's a wonderful man. Bob McCord, may he rest in peace.
Dennis May, I second that. He was a great guy, and I did not know he had passed away. And I remember taking my mother there for Mother's Day on a Sunday and having all the Harley Davidsons there. And Tom Bradley used to have many of his holiday events. We would used to go there with our staff, and he was just he's an extraordinary guy. And he used to said quite flamboyant, and he was really a character in that neighborhood and gave lots. So I'd like to second that. He'll be missed. Any other adjourning motions, colleagues? If not, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Meeting is now adjourned.